So yeah, GPT-5 is here. And honestly, for me, this was one of those moments where I just stopped mid keystroke in Xcode, leaned back and thought, all right, I need to see this. You know, that feeling when something drops that could actually change the way you work day to day. It's not just new model hype. This one feels like it's aimed squarely at our little corner of the world, the solo dev trenches. SwiftUI layouts that won't behave, Xcode builds that break 5 minutes before you were going to call it a night, core data migrations that feel like boss fights, that constant balancing act between building features, keeping your code clean, and not drowning in tool switching between Claude Code, Cursor, ChatGPT. And look, I'll be real, the GPT-5 live stream, kind of rough. Some bad charts, some awkward Apple keynote energy. But if you can get past that, the details matter a lot. If you haven't seen the full talk, it's worth watching. Not because it's flawless, but because it's the only way to really feel the scale of what's changed. I'll link it somewhere below. But here I want to slow down, not just read you numbers off a pricing page or rattle off benchmark scores. I want to connect the dots from what they showed to what's hidden in the system card and talk about what this release actually means for us, for indie iOS devs, building alone, trying to ship apps without burning out. Real quick, I'm Daniel. I've been in the iOS game for almost 8 years, freelancing and shipping apps for other people. But since Dub25, I've gone full solo dev, started building in public, and yeah, kind of figuring out this personal brand thing as I go. More on that for another video. All right, so here's the thing. So when I first heard GPT-5, my gut reaction was basically, yeah, great, another model I won't be able to afford to actually use. Because if you've lived through the last couple years of AI drops, you know the pattern. The pro model shows up, the per token costs make your eyes water, and suddenly you're counting tokens like calories. You stop exploring. You avoid throwing big messy files at it unless you absolutely have to. You ration your own curiosity. But yeah, here's the twist. GPT-5's pricing is actually indie friendly. We're talking $1.25 per million input tokens, $10 per million output for the main GPT-5. That's cheaper than what a lot of us are paying for Claude 3.5 Sonnet right now, and way under what the O series used to cost. And the mini and nano tiers, honestly, they're flirting with impulse buy territory. And why does that matter? Because when you're building solo, the economics of AI quietly dictate how you work. I've lost track of how many times I've thought, ugh, that's going to cost me a couple bucks in tokens. I'll just debug it manually. But that's not how you get the most out of an AI teammate. This changes the math. I can let GPT-5 just hang out in the background like a junior dev, watching my code, skimming diffs, running through massive SwiftUI files for accessibility issues without me stressing about the meter ticking up. And it's not just about more usage, it's about different usage. I can dump entire core data model files in there. I can paste my whole SwiftUI view hierarchy when I'm chasing a weird animation state bug instead of carving it down to fit some tiny context limit. That shift alone changes the quality of the help I get back. It's not cheap like a throwaway tool, but it's cheap enough to bring back something I've really missed since the early GPT-4 days, exploring without guilt. And for me, that's where solo creativity really lives. And the other number that really made me stop was this: 400,000 input tokens. Yeah, it's not infinite, but it's finally big enough to hold the actual state of a real project, not just some toy snippet you cooked up for a demo. If you've ever tried to get AI help on a big SwiftUI refactor, you know the drill. You paste in a couple files, it loses track of the data flow between them, and what comes back feels half-baked or worse. It suggests changes that totally break other parts of your app because it just can't see them. With 400,000 tokens, I can throw in my whole onboarding flow, the persistence layer, the tests, and still have room for crash logs or analytics data. I can literally walk GPT-5 through an entire user journey in my code, and it won't lose the plot halfway through. And then there's the output limit, 128K tokens. That's long enough for a serious rewrite. If you've ever tried asking AI to modernize a massive view hierarchy or convert an entire async API layer, you've probably had it cut off mid-thought. That problem just got a whole lot smaller. Sure, there's still the chance it could wander off or hallucinate a connection between files that isn't really there. But if you pair that big context with an explore, plan, code approach, where it maps the territory before touching anything, you finally have the space to work that way without chopping your project into fake little chunks. For me, yeah, that's the kind of quiet upgrade that could shave hours off the setting the stage part of working with AI. It's not flashy, but it's the kind of change you feel when you're deep in a build. So yeah, this one hit me in a way I didn't see coming. GPT-5 isn't just fast or smart, it's kind of both, and it knows when to switch gears on its own, and yeah, that matters, because when I'm in SwiftUI, there's a huge difference between those little, what's the SF symbol for a filled bookmark? Moments and the deep trace this entire logic flow and tell me why my Combine pipeline is dead kind of moments. Up until now, that's meant bouncing between models. Fast one for the quick stuff, reasoning heavy one for the deep dives. And every time you switch, you lose a bit of context, a bit of flow. It's like changing tools mid-cut. But GPT-5's router just handles it. You say, think hard about this, it slows down, reasons things out, you toss it something light, it stays quick. It's basically Claude's extended thinking mode without the toggle dance. And as a solo dev, that's gold. I can keep one conversation open, one continuous thread, and still get both quick hits and careful, thoughtful answers without juggling tabs or reloading context. If you've used agentic AI like Claude Code, you already know the mental load you save by not babysitting your tool choice every 5 minutes. GPT-5 feels like the next step, where the model just reads the room and adjusts. Yeah. So here's a weird but very real thing nobody really talks about. AI has a personality, and that personality can totally mess with your work. Like, I've had plenty of moments with GPT-4, and especially 4OG, where it would just agree with me, even when I was obviously wrong. And yeah, that feels nice in the moment, but it's dangerous. That kind of AI yes man energy will happily reinforce a bad assumption and send you straight down a rabbit hole that eats your entire night. GPT-5 feels different. They've clearly trained it to be less sycophantic. I've had it straight up tell me, no, that's not correct. Or I don't have enough information to answer. And honestly, that's refreshing. When you're working solo, you don't have a teammate leaning over saying, wait, are you sure about that? So having an AI that pushes back, even gently, is worth way more than one that flatters you. And then there's this shift from hard refusals to what they're calling safe completions. Instead of just shutting down because a question might be risky, it tries to give you a safe, high-level answer. That means fewer dead ends, especially on topics like security, where you might need guidance without touching anything dangerous. It's one of those invisible upgrades you don't notice until you realize you're making fewer subtle mistakes. Just because the model didn't blindly nod along with your bad idea. And yeah, I've been burned by hallucinations more times than I care to admit. Like that one time, GPT-4 confidently walked me through a SwiftUI API that literally didn't exist, and I didn't catch it until I'd already wired it halfway into my app. That's the kind of thing that makes you want to just shut the laptop and walk away. GPT-5, though, different story. Their benchmarks put its hallucination rate under 5%. That's less than half of what the O series and 4.0 were pulling. And the deception rate, where it tries to sneak past a grader or skip a step, is way lower too. So what does that actually mean for me day to day? It means I'm starting to trust it with full end-to-end jobs. Stuff like refactor my entire QR code, scanning flow to use async await, keep all the analytics logging intact, and make sure every test still passes. Or review my last 10 commits for anything that might break on iPad OS. Before, I'd break those into tiny checkable steps because I didn't trust the model not to wander off or invent a dependency. Now, I'm trying whole uncut requests, and it's actually following through it. It's still not set it and forget it. I review every change. But yeah, it's a mental shift. I don't feel like I have to babysit it at every turn, waiting for it to drift into fiction halfway through. And that, for a solo dev, is huge. Okay, well, benchmarks are tricky. Most of the time, they don't map to real dev life. But the way GPT-5 beat models like Grok 4 and O series on SWE bench, especially at lower token usage, feels relevant. Here's why. Those tests measure the ability to solve GitHub issues in real repos. It's not the same as working in my QR dashboard codebase, but it's closer than abstract logic puzzles. And GPT-5's mini version doing well here is intriguing because for day-to-day solo dev life, I don't always want to pay for the full model. If the mini can still debug a failing test in my core data sync layer or suggest a SwiftUI accessibility tweak without breaking flow, that's a win. This is where I start thinking about layering models in my workflow. Let Mini handle the constant low-level checking, linting, small refactors, doc generation, and pull in the full GPT-5 only for the big hairy jobs. It's the same mindset I've been using with Claude Code's headless mode and Cursor's quick fix features. So yeah, for me, GPT-5 isn't just another shiny model to throw on the pile. It's the first one in a long time that actually feels like it fits solo iOS development. Not just good at everything in some vague benchmark sense, but good at the stuff we actually do every day. The pricing means I can explore again without feeling like I'm burning cash every time I paste a big file. The context size means I can finally stop playing code snippet Tetris. The router keeps me in flow instead of model hopping. The safety tweaks and lower sycophancy mean it'll actually push back when I'm off track. And the low hallucination rate, that's the thing that makes me feel okay handing it bigger jobs without bracing for chaos. Is it perfect? Nah, it'll still guess wrong sometimes. I'll still keep guardrails in place. But in my agentic setup, Claude Code for shell-side work, Cursor for those tight iteration loops, GPT-5 for the deep reasoning. It might be the missing piece in the solo dev loop. So yeah, if you're curious, don't just feed it, hello world, give it something real. That gnarly bug you've been avoiding, the feature you've been telling yourself you'll tackle next weekend. See what happens. Because the real story here isn't the keynote or the charts. It's whether GPT-5 can actually take weight off our shoulders without getting in the way. And from what I've seen so far, yeah, it might. All right, until next time, keep crafting, keep experimenting, and keep building apps you actually want to use. Peace.